We are on.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Did everybody have a chance to read the minutes?
I found one correction, and then I received a copy of it, but I can't find it now. With the correction. No. And what it was under County Council
Update?
First page. The resolution, the bottom paragraph. You read it, it just didn't sound. The resolution for minimum maintenance of road was presented as recommended by the what the townships wanted.
And it was
We corrected it.
corrected, but I don't see where I had it.
It says now was presented as recommended by what the township.
Correct. That's the only thing I've seen, Mr. Chairman.
okay. Do I hear a motion to accept as?
I'd make a motion to accept the minutes as amended.
I second that, Mr. Chairman.
It's been moved and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Pass 3-0. Okay. Commissioner comments and committee reports. Do you have anything to
I have none.
And me neither. Bill and I both got a chance. We went to the Rotary Club Thursday. We were guests and listened to the speaker, Karen Tyson, who will probably be running for the 2nd District congressional seat. It was a very interesting meeting. And thank you to the Rotary for the invitation. Okay, reports are up to, I guess we'll be up there to Michelle.
I don't need to move over there, do I?
She's 8 now.
Oh, well, I took that.
I basically have a purchase order for no ink to purchase 5 more of the pull pads because this will make it to where I can have 10 of the units, and then that way all of my precincts should have the same equipment. This includes the printers for these because when I consolidate precincts, then this printer will print off what type of ballot they need. When I have just a single, like Effingham will remain as single, we will not need the printer, so I won't need the printers for all of them. I do not have the printers for the 5 that I have, but these 5 here I would like to go ahead and get the printer with, so that when we consolidate, we'll be able to print the ticket, so to say, so that they will have the correct ballot.
These will be able to work with the new equipment you plan on getting.
Yes. Yes. And that's why I went ahead with the budget that I had left. This was my better fit for the 2017 budget. So this will come out of what I have left of 17. So for 18, we'll have this part purchased so we can jump right into just the equipment for 18.
Okay.
So, and the invoice is attached with that.
This is vendor is No
Ink.
That's KNOWINK. St. Louis. There's 5 pull pad units, charger, stand, stylus, and 5 Kansas VR integration. Now, what's that? The Elvis.
The Elvis is what we use. That's currently it's a statewide system that for voter registration.
Okay.
It
right.
keeps all of the listings of who's registered, who's not, where they're registered at. So
5 transport cases, 5-star Micronics Bluetooth printer, and 5 setup and delivery. A total amount of $7,150 to come out of the 2017 budget. Do I hear a motion to accept?
I so moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That's 3-0. Is it all right to put today's date? It's even though it's coming out of 17. Yeah.
I've talked to them. They're aware. They had to go through today's meeting. So And I'll just run it through at pay period 13, which will cover that. Since we had the proposal prior to the end of the year.
Well, I just wanted to make sure that that was okay. Okay,
You got a contract
contracts.
county appointed attorney contract.
I've got part of them.
It's every year we have contracts with the court-appointed counsel. I have 3 of the 4 back. John Clerk, I think, who we're still missing, but those need to be approved. Oh, that purchase order is different.
Yeah.
But in
That isn't in
the
this.
sleeves behind it. No, I think the sleeves behind it are the contracts.
Oh, okay. There's
I got it. Well, there's 3. There's 4 different contracts.
There's one more there,
So
Eric.
this one's for Rex Lane.
okay. That was
What do we normally have for?
4. We do have
What we have
1, 2, 3.
I
Or did you have?
only have 3 of them back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Do they need to be? Can they be accepted in total, or do we have to be?
The compensations, the monthly compensations, $2,100 per counsel.
Does any of this need to be?
They need to be signed by the commissioner on the last, or the chairman on the last page.
Does it need to be voted on?
Yeah.
Do I hear a motion to accept 3 contract for attorney services? Do I need to specify the names on the motion?
Yes, it's Rex Lane, Kelly Fumler, J. David Ferris are the ones you have there, and John Kirk is still to come.
Pending.
I'll second that, Mr. Chairman.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Passed 3-0.
You want your copy of that?
I think she needs the originals and she'll
Scan
give
them.
me copies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This thing's really old.
Yeah, and you keep a copy of it.
This is something different. Do we need to?
It's just a bill that needs to be paid. I emailed the specifics so that it wouldn't be part of record of the time.
Okay. So does it just go in with the regular group as a whole?
Yeah, so if you want to discuss it, we should probably go into executive session to do that, to discuss any of the specific entries or anything.
Do we need, anybody need any? No? Okay. It'll just be part of the bills to be paid. Or do we need a separate motion to accept?
No, just like any regular bill.
Okay. Employee procedures for purchasing and reimbursements. Did that basically get taken care of this morning when
We talked about it a little bit, and
Sounds like we have the procedures.
I think they're
We
going
just need to
follow
police
that
it along.
a little bit.
So I was thinking that is okay. Wow. Older unfinished business before the board.
We got 8-4.
That's this one. That's this here.
Oh, okay.
We just talked about that.
I was trying to read what about. Okay.
County councilor updates.
I sent you copies of a couple of letters you asked me to send. I haven't received any feedback yet on those, and I'll let you know as they come in. You had asked me about the procedure on doing the bonding for roads and for bridges, roads and bridges. The timeline for that is about 90 days. I think the actual requirement under the statute is 60. So I talked with Roger Edgar about it. He told me that he thought 90 days would be plenty of time, and if you wanted to be ultra generous, 120 days would be enough time. And that's from you notifying, engaging bond counsel that you want to do this to having the cash available. Under the statute, which is K.S.A. 68-1103, there is no requirement for a public vote on it. There is a protest petition period, which is 60 days. And so that had been one of the questions that you had asked about. The related question about could you sell the bonds directly to the public or to specific members of the public? Yes, you may. There are some reasons why you might not want to. These were identified by Roger. The problems that he has seen with doing that typically have to do with SEC, Securities and Exchange Commission requirements about financial disclosures and the timeliness of the filing of those. And essentially, by April or May, you have to have your audit completed and some disclosures made. And he had mentioned that there are very few municipalities that get their audits done within that time period, and the SEC has been more aggressive about enforcing the requirements of those disclosures. He also mentioned that if you're going to just sell to the public, you have to have go and get something like a Moody's rating or a bond rating from one of those companies in order to sell on the market, and the preparation of a prospectus. And there's some fairly significant cost to doing that. And he said it's a pretty broad range of maybe as much as $20,000 for each of those to go through that process. And so it's typically has to be more significant than $2 million for the county to recognize savings through going that route. Although he did acknowledge that you may get a higher rate of return, and he did say that was math that could be done, that he wasn't doing in our discussion. He did also mention that if there are specific individuals who have expressed a desire to be included in purchasing, that they could certainly contact those people. And there's a small issue exception to SEC rules that if it's something along the order of less than 20 people that you're soliciting, you don't have to go through that process of getting the rating and getting the doing the prospectus. So if you just had somebody that mentioned to you, hey, I'd be interested in buying some of those bonds, that they could contact them, and they could carve out however much the individual wanted to purchase. He mentioned that he also had been surprised over the past few years that the commercial rates, there didn't seem to be as big a gap between the rates that they were getting on selling them with a single purchaser or maybe a very small group of banks that are purchasing, big companies that are purchasing the bonds, as compared to issuing straight to the public. He acknowledged that there is a higher interest rate that you can get selling to a broader audience, but he said that the gap between those two seems to have narrowed in his experience over the past several years, and that he was a little bit surprised by that. He indicated a very strong willingness to come meet with you to talk about any of the specifics if you wanted to get into that in more detail. He came up in the fall, I think, or maybe it was even in the summer. Were you on the commission then? Okay, so he did come up and meet with you. He's definitely willing to do that again if you have questions.
I think that discussion is more about BC's bonds versus taking bonds out of the rest.
So when BC does bonds, there's a 60-day protest window.
I don't know. I don't know that. I don't think so. This is a specific statute about
Because they're not used for public.
county. I don't know the answer to your question about general bond law.
I understand why they're waiting to do
I just don't know the answer. I could see arguments on both sides of that. But
Yeah.
for roads and bridges, there's a protest petition period for bonding for reconstructing roads and bridges that have worn out, which is what you're doing, I think. So I can find the answer on the general bond question if you want that.
Do you think we need to contact our local banks to see if they'd be interested in that way?
Let's let the bond guy do that.
Let them do that.
You know, I've been absolutely thrilled with Roger Edgar, and maybe he's a bit of a salesman, but he has really bent over backwards when I've had a question about bonding, even if it wasn't something that they were going to deal with. And he's, I think, kind of an educator at heart, and he has taken time to explain some things.
That was my impression when we met him.
Yeah. And it may be that that's the same as every person in the position that he's in, but I've been very, very impressed with him. And they typically have been the placing agent, that is the sales agent for the bond after the bonds are produced. Through Gilmore and Bell has done them in the recent past or past that I'm aware of. I think there are some other choices if you, and maybe we would look into those as we got closer to that. But I've been very happy with George K. Bond Company and with Roger Edgar in particular.
Yeah, I'm happy with him. I mean, it's just, my only thing was maybe letting the public in on some of those bonds if possible, but it sounds like it might create a lot of work.
Well, he did say that if you have an individual who expresses that they are interested in buying some, that they could contact them and allow them to make a purchase. I don't know how big Those are in the $1,000 a piece range. That probably the transaction costs are pretty high, but if they're talking about investing $100,000,
I'd say 100,000 probably.
that maybe I think they could do that. I think they're willing to do that. So,
Yeah, at some point we'll probably have to have him back and talk to him about it.
okay. And then he also reiterated what you already know, that you need to figure out what the projects are, what they're going to cost, and when you're going to plan to let them. And that's probably when you get in touch with them. You don't want to typically be letting your contracts in August or September because it's going to be through the winter when they're doing them. Now is for November, December is a great time to let them.
I wonder if there's any time, we may not get this all done in 1 year. Does it have to be done in the calendar year?
Well, no, it doesn't. But when you do the bond, you're borrowing the money, and so you're paying interest on it. And if you're not going to spend the money, it may not be worth.
It can't be as you need it, pull off of it type of loan, bond, where you get it all one time shot.
I didn't ask that question. I'm not aware of that, but of course, as you know, bonding's not. I'm not an expert at bonding.
If I buy a bond, I want the interest right now.
Yeah.
So you can't issue the bond in pieces. Maybe you can. That'd be the question.
Yeah. I don't know the answer to that, and I can sure find that out.
Well, you're talking 8 or 10 bridges, but we're considering the 2 construction outfits. 4 bridges, that's still.
Oh, we need Seth to get on we need to get moving on this thing. We're talking about it since
I don't know.
August.
I don't know if one construction outfit. Yeah, they surely ought to be able to build a bridge within, because you're basically 9 months out of the year you could work on a bridge probably. So maybe that's more than build. We can ask that when it comes up. Yeah, if it's a calendar year, how that works, or when the project's finished, or projects.
Okay, we're ready to move on to the next. I got a thing here. It's addressed to Atchison County Sports Complex, 423 North 5th Street, from the Kansas Department of Agriculture, and it has to do with for the structure permit, I guess, on the water.
Is that the irrigation?
Yes.
Information?
Who takes care of that?
I think Roger Denton.
Okay. Something I haven't seen before. This letter is to notify you that the term for Bill Pohl, representing the Atchison County Commission on the Atchison County Community Corrections Advisory Board, will expire on January 11. Please notify Community Corrections in writing whether or not you wish to reappoint Bill or another individual. So should we do that next week at the...
Yes, that'll be done.
Okay, is any need for an executive session? Presenting the whole bills. Anything anybody's got?
Well, you might want to discuss a little bit about the organizational meeting ahead of time. Michelle and I had talked, and one change I think that we probably ought to address is technically the next year on New Year's Day isn't it? It's not a 2018 holiday. It's a 2019 holiday, but you won't have your organization meeting before that. And so that needed to be added. I think we also needed to add we have a charter resolution on meeting days, and I think that wasn't explicitly addressed on what day we're going to meet.
You mean for the organization? You mean organizational meeting?
No, just on, you could change the day of the week that you meet.
Oh, okay.
And I don't think that was recited in at least that's one of the notes I had. And
Should we consider changing the date? Would it work out better to move it up, move it back, or keep the same?
I think we're going to have two holidays that fall, Christmas and New Year's, that fall on Tuesdays this next year. I was going to have a listing of the potential dates and then whether or not it can coincide with any holidays, so that we would be able to have a better aspect of what days the holidays fell on.
Next week we'll have the employee poll on what days they wish to take, and we can set a calendar accordingly. Should have that done. I think Jamie said she's going to be gone, but she'll have that for you next week.
She'll get to Carrot.
well, Carrot's another thing. Have you decided who's going to be the rep and who's going to be the backup?
Well, we did for the remainder of 17, correct?
Yeah.
But we will have to set that again for next year. So was the, I guess, current system of Jamie and Michelle all right with everybody? I mean, we'll set this next week, but since we brought it up now, I mean, of course, if we would set our commission day on a different day, it wouldn't interrupt with Pat's schedule. That's the only reason that we had Pat step down, or lack of a better word.
Whatever day you do it on, there's going to be somebody's going to have a problem with,
Yeah.
or a conflict with. So.
Jamie is planning on attending next week, so she won't be here. If there's any more thoughts or not, we can discuss that next week. So how many different things, do you have a list of all the decisions we...
I don't, well, nominating chairman and vice chairman, appointment of commissioners to the various committees, and then we just discussed Carrot. Maybe, I don't know if there are others that we have employees that need to go on. I guess MOCAN is one that Dennis,
Roger?
Roger Denton does.
Jeff used to attend it, but
Do we have?
they don't have regular meetings. I think Jack is on that.
Was you going to do, be a MOCAN rep, or do we get two, or two representatives, or was that just Jeff?
I
think it's been Jeff.
think maybe there's just one vote, but you could designate
I
somebody.
thought the city had like 3 people. I
Do
mean,
you know, did they just have one vote, or do you know?
I don't remember.
You need to appoint one of you to the random trust. We hadn't done that in the past, but we changed the court changed we went through court and we have a process now that the trustees are supposed to be one commissioner and 2 individuals. So, holidays for 2018, including New Year's of 2019. Bank eligible depositories. And
That's the treasurer's column there.
and the main depository.
Is the treasurer aware of things that...
I'll talk to her today.
The mileage reimbursement rate is on there.
Only go by what the state allows. So that's pretty simple. You just find that.
Typically. Mm-hmm.
meal reimbursement policy amounts and cell phone reimbursement.
I heard that was a total of $40 per day for all the meals. Because I asked that question.
Yeah, we had to, yes, last week it was so much per meal or a total of 1 day.
What I remember was $15 per meal with a max of, I think, $40. But you can like not do one meal and combine two into one.
Okay.
That's the list I have. Is there,
I didn't
maybe
think of
we should
any
get
more.
together and
Mhm.
I don't know if we need to look every year about changing our date, but should you look up and see how many Tuesdays going to conflict with other stuff? But then that's going to be a yearly thing, and the people are getting used to it. You know, we used to be Monday, Thursday, I remember. And we cut it down to one day where we spend more time. Seems like we're getting more done. There's always be a day.
There's usually several Mondays if that's the day it's off. So
We had a couple this year. July 4th was on a Tuesday, and then the K.S.A meeting, we bumped it back. There's meetings that you're going to have. I mean, you're going to have that fluctuation, but we'll just have to notify the public via the social media and the newspapers. Alerts the best we can.
So we keep it on Tuesdays, what you're saying, but if there's a conflict, we just say, okay, next week is Wednesday or next week is Monday, Thursday.
And we can look at the calendar next week, and we can possibly set those, because we know there's going to be a couple with Christmas and New Year's Day. We're going to have to do something that week. We know that. And it's something that if I can get a calendar of the tentative schedule, then I can notify the media. I can alert myself on my calendar to alert the media. We can put something in the paper and on the radio about the meeting date being changed due to the holiday.
So next year, like the reorganization is the 9th this year because it's the second meeting, or does it have? It's usually the second Monday.
The statute, if I remember right, Pat, you may have to help me out with that. It's the second Monday or within 30 days of that day. We typically, like in the even years, we make it on a Monday because that's when they do the oath of the county offices. Because next year we'll have commission seat, and then 2 years after that we'll have the rest of the.
Okay, I was thinking why.
So that's why it was on a
do it on
Monday.
Monday, but it was the oath. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's the reason we get by with this year.
Mm-hmm.
So you're up next year, Jack? I thought you had 2 years.
It seems like longer.
Yeah. Thank you.
No, let's see this year.
Okay. Is there anything else?
what she said is exactly right. The second Monday in January or within 30 days thereafter.
So you got lots of room to play with. So, isn't it nice when you're right?
It is. It is. Even though I would accept it if I was right, I would take that too.
Well, you said that with a caveat. You won.
No, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, it's very early, but if there's nothing further, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Pass 3-0. Meeting is adjourned. Motion is adjourned.